Welcome to Boomers on Travel. Yes, you can enjoy travel to foreign and exotic destinations, even if you're a boomer on a tight budget. Here are your hosts, Irene and Mike. Now, let's talk travel.
When Irene and I go to Maine, there's one favorite place we have. It's called Martin's. It's like a candy shop. We go there 2 or 3 times a week because there are just so many things there that are new. And by going to Martin's, I wrote a little story about them. And this is what it is. The name of the story is called The Views from My $5.99 Martin's Canvas Chair. There is a time in one's life when you say, what is life all about? And life is good. That is the moment I'm in right now. And yes, I bought it when I saw it at Martin's, my $5.99 Martin's collapsible chair. In Ellsworth and all other down east communities, Martin's is an institution where bargain hunters gleefully comb the store for new, old leftovers from stores around the country. I often find myself humming the ditty, I should have bought it when I saw it at Martin's. Just a moment ago, while perched on my chair, I observed a beautiful monarch butterfly working the eye of a daffodil, and right beside her was a bumblebee, and the bumblebee was collecting nectar from the same flower. Here I sat high on the bluff, 1 mile from the nearest neighbor. This may seem isolated, hermetic. At first glance it appears so. On closer inspection, there are many scenarios happening at one time. The morning fog has dissipated. The sun is slowly illuminating and warming my daughter's garden. The garden is like a small city, awakening and come alive with activity. The insects and birds are displaying their instinctive habits, working the garden as if it is their job for survival. Far upon the horizon, the lobstermen are plying their trade, heading for their daily catch. They are a different species, but like the citizens of the garden, it means their survival. I feel so fortunate, so alive. It's like having a front row seat at Wimbledon with 2 center courts to watch. People work their whole lives never looking up at the stars, seeing ants at work, hearing the symphony of crickets at night, composing their music, or the fabulous light parade provided by thousands of fireflies, weaving intricate blanket patterns across the farmer's field at dusk. This journey I started 3 years ago with my daughter, seriously ill from Lyme disease, and decided that Lyme was not going to destroy her dream of living in coastal Maine. Her mother and I thought the disease had finally attacked her brain, which Lyme does, when she announced she was physically building a first-day cottage on the tidal wave in Goldsboro, Maine. Having recently retired, I volunteered some labor to help with this dream. I soon discovered that I was not that young Marine I once was, and found muscles that had been really kind of dormant for decades, and also found my new best friends, Advil and the heating pad. Mom was a real big help, issuing advice and orders and encouragement from the Martin's chair as she read the New York Times. This is our first full summer in Maine, and the 3rd year visiting Maine. Like osmosis, or a large sponge, we started slowly to absorb and appreciate Maine, especially its magnificent rugged coast. What a difference today is from our first trip down Route 1 out of Ellsworth. We wondered, where is civilization? It's so beautiful, but so barren. We quickly learned that the coast is alive with small communities, hugging its magnificent coast. We got a real taste of one of these communities by attending a contra dance at Hammond Hall in Winter Harbor. There was an 80-something great-grandmother who caressed the strings of her banjo with enthusiasm as of a teenager. The hall was alive as the floor reverberated with hundreds of feet, keeping time with the tunes were handed down through generations. The little ones, along with the adults, followed the instructions of the caller as we all moved across the floor. This was a night out for the family, an evening where the fabric of a community was woven even tighter. We then discovered the bean suppers. Oh darn, the bean suppers. They're anchored by fantastic family recipes for baked beans, mac and cheese, coleslaw, and of course red hot dogs. Blueberry pies and other great desserts are the highlights. My wife, who is a true extrovert, loves these suppers, as she has made numerous friends and has found a great way to meet Downeasters. These wonderful community events will give you a sense of what Maine is all about. The population of these small coastal communities may be very small, but all are unique with their own attributes and have a story to tell. They exhibit tremendous community spirit, and there is always plenty of events, socials to keep everyone busy. As I'm watching a hummingbird in my daughter's garden, the most beautiful eagle I've ever seen, with its majestic white head, just glided down the water, casting a giant shadow on the surface. Yes, life is good, and the views are awesome. I guess even if I dish the Florida place, I probably don't have enough time to become a true Downeaster, and I would still be considered as a Downeaster, say, from away. Experiencing Maine among these Downeasters is just fun.
Earlier in this segment, Mike had a story for you, and in the story he talked about a family member, his daughter, building a house down East Maine. And we are so fortunate and lucky today to have her with us. And Nicole, would you be kind enough to give us some information about living down east? Now, how long have you lived down east part-time?
Well, when we built the house in 2000, end of 2006, and beginning of 2007, we finished the house. So we lived there full-time for 6 years, at which time we decided that we were going to start spending part of the winters in Florida. So we've owned the house for 12 years now.
I see. And do you really enjoy your time up there? What do you do?
We love Maine, especially in the summertime, because it's just too hot to live in Florida. Some of the things that we really enjoy doing is being on the coast, in particular, especially around Bar Harbor and being in down East Maine, which is pretty much, at some point, I would consider down east maybe Camden all the way up to Lubec. So there's all kinds of hiking. So you've got the Acadia National Park. You also have all the little nooks and crannies with the little wharfs, the little local wharfs, so that you can buy lobsters from the fishermen. You have, on Saturdays, a lot of Saturdays, different towns have their bean suppers, which you can go get and meet some local people.
Oh, tell me about your bean suppers. What do they usually serve?
Well, bean supper has been a New England tradition for many, many years. So they usually serve great classic Yankee baked beans. And they'll have like Jacob's cattle baked beans in there. They'll have three different types of beans in there. They'll have bacon, they'll have molasses. So some people just go just to have the beans, but traditionally they'll have hot dogs. You might get some potato salad, chop suey. It'll all be served family style. There'll be pickles, rolls. And you always get your dessert on the way in.
Oh, yes.
So it's by donation. As you're going in, we usually pay about $10 a person. First thing they do, the people running it, either for their historical society or for their church, they'll tell you to go ahead and pick your dessert. So we pick up our dessert, which our favorites are either the chocolate pie or the banana cream pie. But in Maine, they're famous for their wild blueberries.
Oh my gosh, Nicole, you're making me so hungry for this delicious food. I can't wait till we get to Maine this year. Well, Nicole, since you moved there, have some new things happened? Is there a new park there?
Well, as you know, Mom, we live on Schoodic Peninsula.
Yes.
Now, our neighbor Marvin might say it's a Schoodic Peninsula. So we live in Gooseboro, which is directly across from Bar Harbor, 6 miles as the crow flies. And so what we do is you can drive to Bar Harbor, which is about 35 miles by land, or we like to take the ferry from Winter Harbor. In the last 5 years, they developed a park, a camping area on the Schoodic section of Acadia National Park. It's called Schoodic Woods. And they're beautiful sites. Some of them you can have views of the ocean. They're all full service. People have big rigs there. They have bathrooms. They develop trails, walking trails, so you can walk all the way from the campground into Winter Harbor. You can walk all along the shore. They have biking trails. We also have more restaurants now on our section. So we have there's endless amounts. You got our favorite, which is really not exactly on the Schoodic Peninsula. It's Chester Pike's on Sundays, which is in Sullivan, right off of Route 1.
I know that place well.
About 8 miles. But there's Bunker's Wharf, which is down at Birch Harbor. They have the Pickled Wrinkle, which is also in Birch Harbor, and it's a little, they have craft beers there, they have local beers, they have haddock bites, all types of, burgers and pub type food as well.
Oh, Nicole, honestly, I should have eaten before you started talking to me about all this food. But tell me about isn't there a famous resident from Winter Harbor?
Famous resident?
Well, didn't she have something to do with bees?
Oh. Well, I don't know. If you ask the people in Winter Harbor how they feel about that, but Roxanne Quimby, who was the founder of Burt's Bees, actually owns several properties on the Schoodic Peninsula. And I do believe that she still spends time there herself. And the restaurant that she owns the building, but not necessarily the restaurant. It's leased to a business owner. It's called Salt Box. And Salt Box is a gourmet restaurant right there overlooking the water in Winter Harbor. If you want a really good meal for a special occasion, we haven't had the pleasure of going there yet because it's always so busy when we're there. But the Salt Box is a great restaurant right in downtown Winter Harbor. And let's not forget Garish's.
Oh, yes.
Garish's, which is across from the Winter Harbor 5 and 10. Great breakfasts. You can have lobster Benedict, all kinds of stuff there, and homemade blueberry scones.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. Remember, isn't Bar Harbor fairly close to you?
I did. I said it was about 6 miles as the crow flies, but you can take the ferry right down from Winter Harbor, and you can take it over about 45 minutes. It'll show you all the little islands on the way. They have 2 of them that run.
Well, what about the town itself?
The town of Winter Harbor?
Yeah, no, Bar Harbor.
Bar Harbor? Well, if you go over to Bar Harbor, so what Matt and I usually do is it costs about $25 round trip to take the ferry.
Okay.
And so you can take one takes you to College of Atlantic, which will bring you just outside of downtown Bar Harbor, which means you can take one of the little LL Bean free ferries buses that will take you. You can jump on a bus that will take you down to Bar Harbor, or we like to go right into the downtown Bar Harbor at the inn. The Bar Harbor Inn, one of the ferries goes directly. The Winter Harbor ferry goes directly to the Bar Harbor Inn, so which will take you directly into Bar Harbor. So you can once you get off the ferry, you're right there at the inn, and you can walk right along the water there, all the restaurants. You can go up to Main Street, to Cottage Street. You can see all the different.
Do you ever catch a cruise ship when you're there?
Well, we don't do the cruises so much, but the cruise ships do come in there. So usually when you're there, you're going to be there, especially in the peak time of the summertime. Even in the fall when they do the leaf peeping, you're going to have anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people just off the cruise ships that come in for the day.
Nicole, like when you come up Route 1, like through Ellsworth, is a small town in Maine, and then you go up to Millbridge, which is what, Captainstown, or can you say a little bit about Millbridge? It's kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, Millbridge is certainly off the beaten path. There's probably not a lot of people that would consider stopping in Millbridge, unless you were going all the way up to Lubec, to Campobello Island, where Roosevelt summered.
That was a fun place.
But Millbridge actually has great Mexican food. We love it. They just opened in the last 6 years. It's been named in Down East magazine as some of the best Mexican food in Maine. So we love going up there in the summertime. From Memorial Day to Columbus Day, they're open. Authentic Mexican food cooked by our Mexican people who live in Millbridge, and the prices can't be beat. Besides that, you also have the clammers that usually along Route 1 will sell you clams by the dozen. You also have, Millbridge has they have another nice restaurant called 44 North, which is good for pub food and homemade food. And then, not to be missed, past Millbridge, about up by Columbia, on the way to Columbia Falls, is the Blueberry Land. We call it Blueberry Land. It's the shape of a dome, and it's all colored blue, and they sell the best wild blueberry pies anywhere in Maine, and we feel.
Well, I remember.
You can buy all types of, blueberry type products, jams and whatnot up there.
Now, you've also mentioned that we've driven it ourselves. Up Route 1 is quite scenic, though, isn't it? I mean, it's coastal, it's rugged, it's a lot to see there.
Well, all of Route 1, we always drive up Route 1 when we come into Maine, usually right after we get into Portland, up by Freeport, where LL Bean has its flagship store. We drive from, because of the time of year we're going up, and it's not directly in the heat of the summer, we can go up Route 1. And we like that, because we can, along the way, you'll go through Camden. You'll also go over the bridge they built just after you go through Camden that has an observation deck at the very top of it by Fort Knox there, which is right before Bucksport. And then you can come up through Ellsworth, and from Ellsworth you can go down to Bar Harbor, which is also known as MDI, Mount Desert Island. And once you get down to MDI, you not only have Bar Harbor, but you have Northeast Harbor, you have Southwest Harbor, you have Swans Island. So if you want to be in a quieter part of MDI, you could stay over in Northeast Harbor or Southwest Harbor. But if you want to be right in the thick of things, you can stay right down in downtown Bar Harbor.
Nicole, this is just marvelous information. I'm sure all our listeners out there are going to really appreciate everything that you've... I can't remember all that. And of course, I've been up to Maine a couple different times.
Mm-hmm.
I am just looking so much to coming up there this year and visiting with you and Matt. Your father and I are. And also going contra dancing, because we love that
Contra dancing.
Is that how you say it?
Oh
my
gosh.
gosh.
Folk dancing.
Yeah, remember when we went?
Yeah, you can burn all the calories you eat from the bean suppers into the blueberry pies at the contra dances.
Well, we're very, very fortunate that you were able to give us some information today. We really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you helping build the house. We loved how you were there, Mom, in the command
I can
center.
remember being fired though, Nicole.
You remember when Mom sat in her
I
lounger
got fired.
directing us on how we should be? Why are more people cutting and banging things?
Well,
and when we were all waiting for the wood so we could build the rafters to put up in the house, so we appreciate all the work.
Well,
so you get to come every summer.
Well, remember I was reading the New York Times and giving the information for the day, so you wouldn't have to stop working and read the paper. But anyways, everybody, I hope that you really enjoyed listening to us today. Nicole is just a great speaker, and we're so happy that she was able to be with us today. Thank you, Nicole.
My pleasure, Mother.
Boomers on Travel thanks you for being a part of our growing travel family. Join us next week for Travel Talk, focused on value and exciting travel destinations.